Biff. Good evening. I am the healthiest, tallest, and the best hair in 40K, Mr. Brad Chester. Over to my left.
You have to tell us which is
That would be Mr. Brian Horton, and diagonally, that would be Mr. Stephen Crawley, and underneath me is Abaddon. So, I'm just saying.
I'm Stephen Crawley, Slayer of the Eldar.
I'm Brian Horton, runner of the Eldar meta.
Man, had you told me that this past weekend that it was going to be 5 Eldar players, I would have laughed you off the table, and then I had nightmares, and they came true.
Oh, nice. Corey coming at me with the hard burns to start it. Brad must be an awesome landlord to let Crawley live rent-free in his head for now 2 tournaments over 2 editions.
see, Corey, we'll go to that. But one of those games was a hard-fought, back-and-forth, like, matching of the wills in which Brad just gave out. The other one was 10 seconds, and then we went and got a beer.
I do love that I walked to the bar.
Hold on, I actually can probably put this better than anybody else. We start the round, and I'm coming out of the room to go grab my iPad to help with a ruling like 2 minutes into the game. And Brad walks by, and I'm like, "Is your game over already?" He goes, "No, I'm going to the bar."
I told him after I lost the roll, I went to the bar while still mic'd. He goes, "Brad, you're still mic'd." I'm like, people need to hear this. So I go to the bar, get drinks. I hand him a shot. I go, "I will take no casualties until you drink this shot."
Dorian, you are completely correct. I apologize. He's saying that I have brought nerfs upon the DA, and now I bring upon the Knights. I did, in fact, by doing this weekend, bring GW's team for the local events to determine that Lalo the Tyrants is one reroll of hit and one reroll.
You know what? I'm gonna hot topic this. I'm gonna let people throw the tomatoes at me. I'm gonna burn for this. Check it out. Literally take away Towering, leave Knights alone. Take away Phantasm and leave Eldar alone after they've had their. Also, make it only for 6s. No replacing Fate dice, period. I don't care if it's one of phase or anything. Can't be used on devastating wins. There you go. You could probably point some stuff out after that, but things are fine at that point in time. You know what they're not, but however, they're sorry. Things are fine at the top. You're like back at the League of Justice, and then you go back to the Legion of Doom in the swamp. They need to do something badly about the bottom tier. Right now, when you're playing like Votann, you're like, "Hey, what do I use to score?" And you're like, "Hey, don't worry about that." You're like, "It's probably going to come back to haunt me if I don't have anything that can play secondaries." You're like, "Nah." And then Death Guard's like, "I just drew 2 cards that said I have to be on the other side of the board." Well, book ahead.
The Death Guard guy at Salt City, Jim, who had an amazingly painted army. I don't know if you guys got a chance to see it. Absolutely gorgeous army. When he came up and got basically, you got last place award, so Smoking Boots and Best Death Guard at the same time. I've never seen a crowd of people at an event for an award ceremony go so loud and so crazy and just appreciating that he did it.
I know, dude. Well, I played him in my first round. I think he said it was his first tournament game ever.
First tournament game ever. Yeah.
And I swear that dude was the most of a blessing to play.
He was hilarious.
Super cool.
I love that dude. We were just we have pictures.
Yeah. He started with putting Typhus on the board in his Poxwalker unit, Invisibility of my Knights, and I was like, "So let me explain why that's a bad idea, and then we're going to work on your deployment real quick because no."
I want to go to the wall real quick on stuff. When I say take Towering away, I don't mean like toe touching into things that I'm talking about shooting through windows like 72 inches away. So yes, Maintenance of each of them made it. Oh, Lyle coming in with a super chat. I want to hear someone rant about how GW massacred my boy, the Knight Lancer. No justice, no peace.
You are completely correct. I had a list that I had designed because I thought that GW was going to completely gut towering, and it was 3 Lancers and 5 Armiger Helverins, or no, Warglaves, sorry, and it was just the most fun thing ever. And then literally GW was like, it would be a shame if Lancers just went up by 100 points because they have towering. I'm like, what do they do with towering? They don't tower anything. They run at you.
Look, man, that would mean that you had to have people look at the rules, not just run a Control F and say towering, and just look and see who had it, and just move on.
That's like one of the things I can say is, like, with towering, if every TO had 3-story buildings that had no windows in them, towering probably wouldn't be a problem. I've seen it at a few places where they've gone to, like, hey, look, anything that's 3 stories, there's no windows. It just doesn't have them. And in my head go, well, that's not as good either, because it's like, I think it should be the first 2 floors, because then on that 3rd floor, you lose the, random rule of plunging fire. Not that I saw that come into play very much over a weekend, but it did come.
Scott got it played once. I saw him use warp spiders to shoot directly straight down on someone. He's like, it totally worked. I'm like, no, it didn't. He's like, they ran up to the building and they missed a charge or something. I don't even know what happened, but they happened to be directly below the. I'm like, excellent. I agree on this. The thing is, revert the points back, fix tower. Points don't change a goddamn mechanic. I may have said this once, twice, or 600,000 times, but like the points didn't do anything. Just they don't even need points. I mean. The only thing that's probably undercosted is the mini knights are probably undercosted, to be honest with you.
The issue is that the points cost did make it to the point where knights can no longer hang with Eldar, because Eldar will get too many rounds of shooting and they're too resilient against the longer range shooting, to the point now where the Eldar matchup is heavily favored against knights.
I got 0 rounds of shooting. I didn't get to move a model.
Yes, I'm sorry. In sweeping engagement, you're going to have a bad time. And any of the other deployments, when you deploy against the back wall, that range 24-inch gun doesn't get there. My last round opponent is a good testament to that, where he literally put his Wraith Knight on the back of the table, and I could literally get like 2 Helverins into him total.
In our day, when you came up and went, hey, what you reading in there? And I was like, a book about getting my ass kicked. He's like, you should read fast.
Yeah, that fire prism was on the toilet when the eyeball looked through the window.
Yeah.
A couple of people walked up to me at Salt City. I appreciate you all. They wanted me to talk about my opinions on towering, and I wanted to make it very clear where I stand. Knights need towering to be effective in the current meta, right? Knight's shooting is incredibly low AP or incredibly short range. But towering is an oppressive rule. It is bad for the game, and it creates very unfun experiences for both players and very linear experiences for both players. Yep. And I do not think it is a healthy rule for the game, and I wish it would just go away.
So but the GW, think about what GW is pushing, though, because they're pushing their terrain sets, and then you still have towering. It would be different if they were pushing like a WTC style terrain setups where you have multiple 3-floor, full line of sight blocking, no windows, as opposed to theirs, which, by the way, I think that the GW layouts are fucking awesome if towering doesn't exist, because they have spaces for things that aren't infantry to go through, bikes, dreadnoughts, small tanks, things of that nature. They've got places that are less than 4 inches that you can just walk over a big vehicle and stuff like that. I think that they're very well thought out if towering didn't exist. And that's my problem with towering.
The problem, though, is that towering, in that circumstance, even on GW terrain, when I shoot at your things with anything that has decent volume, I'm wounding you on 3s, and then you're getting 3-up saves. Or 4-up saves, but then I'm wounding you on 5s. So in this circumstance, you don't kill Eldar unless you get within 24 inches. And there's no deployment that I'm going to be able to, on turn 1, except for sweeping engagement. I feel like
I got shot a lot, man. You remember that thing where we looked at the board and I said, I can't deploy a model that can't get shot on turn 1? Yeah, that seemed tough.
But the rest of the army, you're getting 3s and 4s ups, and that's not going to be a good scenario.
Anna's got a good point, and I think that this is the same thing. Would it be better if towering was just completely deleted, not adjusted? That way knights could hide behind obscuring like everyone else. Knights should be able to hide behind things if they can't shoot things. Also, knights should be able to big shit should be able to toe touch whatever terrain they want and shoot over it, because you don't have the ability to be fully in. And people that are TOing, I'm pretty sure, Brian, you don't want me to wreck your terrain because I'm trying to fit my knight all the way in your terrain and I spike it down volleyball style to make it fit.
GW terrain, I don't think, except on a few of their pieces of terrain, can you fully fit a knight within.
KR, that would be absolutely true. I agree with you where KR is saying that you shouldn't be able to kill everything that you shoot. My issue is that the Eldar player looks at you and kills everything that he shoots. So
not if you can hide.
We'll go over.
That's the thing. If you could hide, if both of you could hide.
Right.
I had plenty of games that were back and forth. We were hiding, we were peeking. I'm not saying Eldar's not an OP army. I'm saying that without running Wraith Knights and shit like that, fucking overtowering, you have the ability to do stuff. Also, Phantasm has to be set on fire too. That goes without saying.
Fantastic.
Right. But my point is we're addressing this currently, right? And KR is bringing up a valid point. 3s and 4s are good. My problem with 3s and 4s, right? If Eldar was AP 1 and 2 even on their Bright Lances and their I don't even know what's the focus shot called on the Fire Prism, like Deep Dickening.
Deep Dickening.
If they were AP 1 and 2 across all that shots, then this is a fair game and we're completely good, right? But when you look at like Eldar with full rerolls on 125 to 150 points, wounding on 3s, hitting on 3s, versus knights that get one reroll across 475
yeah,
points.
but the rerolling ones is what they should have already had. And I think that is just, and that's not even a real thing yet. It's just the Tacoma thing that might happen. There's literally
Don't act like every single TO in the world is not going to immediately adopt that because now they have an excuse to blame GW, so they don't. They can nurse it without
all the
trouble.
foreign language codexes all say reroll all ones to hit all reroll.
Yes, and Zach Rogner gave every single TO in the entire world, love you, Zach, by the way, the excuse to just say fuck Imperial Knights. And Chaos Knights currently are at a 44% win rate, so why in the world will they do anything when GW just gave them the out to deal with Imperial Knights? Towering is now dead. You don't have to fix it anymore.
So I'm going to go in with the wall real quick, because Anna pointed out that Knights are not the only models that get jammed by the Holy Gate. Land Riders, Hexdown Land Fortresses, the Lord of Skulls, stuff like that. So yes, but also Kyle, I talked to Kyle earlier today, and he's making a thing in the chat, and I really like it. He goes, draw cards at the end of the turn. So for tactical play, so basically your opponent can start to try to plan to stop you from playing your tactical on that. I actually like that. I mean, it's another facet. That would be kind of cool.
I'm going to go out on a limb, and I think I've said this before, but I'll say it again now. Holy Within is the worst core rule out of everything that exists within 10th edition.
So I disagree with that, because the back of your base toe touching something for cover purposes.
No,
that's not Holy Within.
When you talk about holy, right? It used to be you were in terrain, you got a cover save.
Right.
But my point is
got rid of toe touching because putting toe
touching to see over. That's it.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah.
But what we're saying is that nothing Holy Within doesn't affect cover. I can be within and still get cover because it's my opponent's line of sight and visibility to my model. The issue is that they wanted you to get wholly within the terrain piece to try to limit shooting angles, but then they made their terrain this freaking geometric Tetris on LSD, which makes it almost impossible to get long-range distance shots unless you're Eldar, where you can move wherever you want to, see something, and then move 14 inches back to where you were.
Part of it is they restricted movement a lot with other armies, and Eldar kept their speed. And like Drukhari lost some of their speed, an army that should be equally as fast.
Their speed, their AP, and their strongest spells / ability. Like, we're only peeling the onion of the most basic stuff of Eldar. We gut every single thing that Eldar people are taking right now. Their codex is still deep as hell. Or sorry, index. Their index is still deep as hell.
So Zuber said this to me, like we were talking in a random chat. And he was like, look, this is the core, 1,450 points of my Eldar list. This 550 points is flavor to taste. And he was like, so really, if they increased points another 20% on this stuff, I would just take out a couple of those things, and then my flavor to taste would be more, and it would still be equally as good.
The thing is that we haven't played weekends without Eldar, without the Towering Wraith Knights at that cost with Devastating Wounds, and I don't think it's as much of the Eldar
TTX
problem.
did.
Yeah, I'm saying, but like
And Eldar still won.
Yes, but people aren't tooling up their list, and the problem is that it isn't just Eldar being so top. You can nerf the shit out of Eldar. The problem is that we have half of the meta or more. I'd say 60% of the meta is wildly underpowered. You've got what? Necrons, Custodes, GSC, Knights, Eldar, certain Marine builds, jump off of a bridge for everyone else, maybe throw Thousand Suns in there.
Nobody's disagreeing with you, Brad. Like we've discussed it, and I'll happily do it again. I want them to bring up the bottom. They're not going to bring up the bottom. They're just going to off with their head with the top. If we had any instance of us actually getting good buffs for old armies outside of Necrons the one time, I would be like all aboard the choo-choo train. But they haven't even released codexes yet, so they're just like, we'll fix it in post-op.
See, I've actually been having really fun playing against Eldar and stuff because I think it provides stuff. Maybe I'm just a weird dude at that. Even when I'm not playing Eldar, I like playing against the Eldar as long as it's not Towering Wraith Knight nonsense with Devastating. I think you could play against that. I think that Phantasm has to go, but once you kill that, I think it's a totally playable against army. Like, you know what I mean? Burn me at the cross for that one. I really think that. I just think you need to.
I think the Towering with the Wraith Knight, with the points increase and the Fate Dice nerf, when I see that in action at full bore, when there's just potentially at the most, I assume you're only going to see one of them from now on, they might not look as scary. But the fact that you can still pop off a devastating wound on that hitting with a Fate die.
You shouldn't. It should be natural sixes.
Well, no, let's go to the core reasons why Eldar are strong. Okay, Fire Prisms being able to do all of their LOS off of one model in Fire and Fade means you get 3 tank activations with full rerolls with 0 ability to reprise on GW terrain or anything like that. You can't cut the angle back until you cut deep into the Eldar player. The only things that you're going to have the ability to shoot are going to be Hornets, which are T7, 8 wounds on a 3-up save, which is really good in cover. Warwalkers, which are freaking the most straight up the best data sheet in all of this edition, in my opinion. And all of these have but all of these have Bright Lances with AP4 flat 4 damage and a reroll to hit and a reroll to wound. Their efficiency is madness.
It's AP3 D6 plus 2.
Okay, well, I'm sorry. Only AP3. I'm sorry that you're catching every single vehicle to a 6-up save, basically. You're completely correct.
Lies.
Let me deal with my AP1 battle cannon over here with, yes, it has a billion shots, but you get your basic 3-up, 2-up save across the board. Yes. Yeah, I'm so sorry. Your AP3
I just disagree on that.
Problem.
I mean, I love the Eldar, though, but I'm just saying, like, I've played a lot of games into Eldar without Wraith Knight shenanigans, and I think it's playable.
Wraith Knights are... I agree that Wraith Knights were a problem, but they were an easy button problem. At the top tables, I'm not worried about... Well, I say that, and then... Sorry, memes. But I'm not worried about Wraith Knights at the top tables.
I felt like you played that at the top table. And
I did.
And in your game, if you cleaned out the trash, you still win that game.
You're right. You're right. Turns out 6s to wound are a hell of a drug.
I enjoyed playing without Towering. I've really enjoyed the game. How about that?
I agree. I think that without Towering, every game that I've played where I've played other armies, especially into other things that don't have Towering, the game has been fantastic.
Super fun. I'm just saying.
Totally within this to go away.
I think 10th edition has less issues than people think, but the issues are big. You know what I mean?
Let's talk about bringing up the bottom. All right. So we're in agreement that Death Guard, Admech, Votann at the bottom, right? Those are your 3 bottom tier armies?
Yes.
Okay.
No. Votann, Harlequin. Are we counting Harlequins as their own thing?
Harlequins isn't a thing.
Harlequins isn't a thing.
So then, Votann, Admech, and Death Guard.
Death Guard. So Does lowering their points, which is the easy button GW fix, right? Does lowering their points bring them up?
No.
Is there a level you can lower points to
AdMech,
make them playable?
AdMech, yes. The other two, no.
I
I mean, you can make anything like unbelievably cheap and it's worthwhile.
I'm about to say, if I reduced everything in Death Guard by 50%,
But
I think I can make a list.
They need either 4 deployers, they need to scout. It's just a problem that they can't keep up with the score. Yeah, I mean,
You know what hurt Death Guard the most, honestly? Like the absolute most? Their data sheets are okay. They just have no way to deliver them. Getting rid of both the drill and the drop pod was super detrimental to Death Guard.
Okay. So if Death Guard was, we're just going to go with 20% cheaper, with the exception of maybe like the Plague Burst Crawler, which I think is because they're nerfing indirect fire, right? So if you lower everything 20%, is there a list in there?
in which one? Death Guard?
In Death Guard.
Death Guard, I could probably make a list, but it's going to be semi-boring. I don't even know. The problem is you have to score shit. You know what I mean? So they can do that better. The one that you can't do that with, Votann just doesn't have enough units in its codex to have shit to score. Like,
No. Votann would be fine if you. I think if you gave Votann 30% drops,
then they would
like,
kill
I
people. Then they would have the same problem as they did before. They don't play the game; they kill people.
no, they can play all their transports and actually play games around playing the objectives and playing transport.
If you just play like mad Sagittars and stuff, I can see
you play
that.
6 Sag and 3 freaking hecatons, and then the units jump out of the hecatons.
Yeah, but that's
and
like
shoot things.
mad point drops. That's huge point
I'm
drops.
saying they need mad point
Sure,
drops.
I'm
That's
just
what I'm
saying if you gave them crazy
So
point drops.
that was the discussion that we've been having, a group of us, of how do you fix it? Is there a way to fix it? And I'm like, well, if you 20% point drop all those armies across the board, and that's the percentage we looked at, I was like, I think they're playable. So that may just be a point drops thing, although I think AdMech, who are getting a codex this late fall,
AdMech actually
winter,
has good shit in their codex. It's just all like wildly overpriced.
Yeah, like AdMech, I have no idea how they came to the conclusion that the pricing that they implemented was okay.
So, but one of those codexes just need more shit. I mean, the Marine Codex is literally based around like just a few data sheets right now.
Yeah.
Even though it's got 1 billion of them, you know what I mean? It's got
Hey,
the
careful.
most data sheets in the game, and so few of them are useful.
Don't do it, Brad. I got tased last week for suggesting that Space Marines don't have enough depth in their actual competitive data sheets. You're gonna get it next.
It's just that there's a lot of armies that just don't have that many usable units, and I think everybody needs some stuff to play the mission. Period. I mean, it's also a design flaw, and a lot of people are trying to play their 9th edition lists in 10th edition. You just can't. You're drawing tactical cards. You need speed. That's why things like any of the Eldar, any army that comes with speed comes out of the gate and does well, because you need speed to win the game. If you've got speed, you start winning. If you don't have speed, you start losing. Get busy speeding or get busy dying.
Well, that's why I think Death Guards are an easy solution as points, because as we'd reduce their points, right? Let's say we reduce the cost of Terminators by 50%. Now I can take more Terminators and I can put them in Deep Strike, right? Now we're talking about I'm giving myself mobility and options.
That was my big takeaway from the weekend. Now, granted, in the first 2 rounds of Salt City, I walked over 8 miles around the room.
I believe it.
All right. And I'm going to assume Zuber, who was the other judge, equally walked just as far. A lot of people just didn't understand how Deep Strike and Strategic Reserves work right now. And I was looking at games where I was like, yeah, if you would have just put 1 unit into reserve and done this, like people were asking me if any advice after their games kind of thing. And they were like, oh, crap, I completely forgot you could do that now. And I think that's something that as the meta evolves, I'm not talking about just your top level players. Your top level players are going to do it. They're going to use all the rules to their advantage. Those guys who are in the middle brackets, as they learn all the nuances of the edition, I think certain armies will pick up a little bit in ticks of win percentage and get a little more towards the middle. I'm not saying the ones that are on the bottom tier are going to do that, but I think you're going to see some changes there. And we'll start seeing more stuff.
Can I give a counterpoint?
Yeah.
No.
I think the main reason that a lot of people aren't strategic, Brad, I love you, man. The reason people aren't strategic reserving right now is because a lot of times you're ending games in the first round. And if you strat reserve yourself, so like there's a there was an Eldar game, right, where, and I'll go through my matches really quickly shortly, where we re-racked the map and they went second, but they had strategic reserved things, or sorry, they went first, but they strategic reserved things, and it made the map go out significantly longer because they didn't have enough offense on the table to be able to capitalize on that. And I'm saying from our perspective, that first round and second round, how many games were over in 10 minutes? I want to say like almost half in the first round.
Yeah, probably a quarter, but yeah.
That's a very large percentage.
Oh, I'm not disagreeing.
For a tournament, right?
It's towering on things that can shoot down the towering. That's the problem.
Well, no, because I mean, we only had 20 players between towering models for the entire event. There was only like 3 people that took Wraith Knights, and there was like 10 Knight players.
Dirty towering players.
10, yes.
You guys have problems, and you should look into it.
So let me cover the rounds of Salt City real quick, so that way we don't break off and make people sad, and then we can go on there, and then Brad can tell me why I'm bad and I should feel bad, and we can talk about our game. Round 1 was against our fantastic Death Guard player. He was an amazing dude. It was his first game of 10th and his first game in a tournament period. We had a great time. He deployed pretty aggressively because he just wanted to run straight at me, which I think in hindsight was probably a good plan because alternatively he doesn't really have a lot of options for trading and sitting back. The only problem was that I got the opportunity to go first, and I killed a bunch of stuff on turn 1. Like I said, we fixed before where Typhus was no longer there. Hallmark of that game was the unit with Typhus of Death Shroud Terminators came down on the table, and the Crusader took that personally and overwatched them, and then there was no unit with Typhus on the table. So that was fun, but...
Sorry, we all started laughing, but no one said anything about it. I am straight going to that comment. I would rather listen to a Fran Drescher Christmas album than Crawley's takes on anything.
Ouch, Corey.
Hold on. Where's my RKO out of nowhere button? Oh shit, went down.
That hurts my feelings. Dang.
Oh, wait for it. Boom! You know what? I'll give a nuclear explosion off too. Continue on, my man. That was fantastic, though. I'm literally trying to figure out what goofy button I want to hit for some stuff, and then that came out. I was like, "Oh snap!"
This fucks. I bought him a decent chunk of drinks after that game. He was an outstanding opponent. It was a greit time.
That's what a good tattoo artist.
Yeah.
Give credit where credit is due.
His army was freaking beautiful. If I could paint half as well as that gentleman, I would be a very happy camper.
Yeah, Jim, not only is Jim a fantastic tattoo artist, a fantastic artist on his miniatures, he got inspired. He stopped into the store today, just a little aside, and was like, dude, I have this idea for a display board. And he ran it down for me. And I'm like, you going to bring that to the boys? He was like, yep. And I'm like, yeah, more competition for everybody. I was very happy to see that.
I hope I get to play against Corey one day on the table. That'll be a fun game.
Also, KR did get a quote that is 100% me. Brad never feels bad about his games, just physically.
Round 2, I played against Mike Norton playing Chaos Knights. He knew what his plan was, which was if he went first, he would just completely charge me in the face. If he went second, he wouldn't. I did get I went second that game. Anyway, we did some bloody nosing across the board back and forth. We had a really good time shooting each other in the face. We were both laughing the entire time. It was great. It came down to one of his shooting phases where he literally did 0 damage because his dice just decided to leave the building. And at that point, it was just a matter of scoring. Also, flamers are super annoying because they're like just enough points where I don't feel the need to kill them, but they score secondaries so well. Just bouncing around, doing all the things.
Again, take out the trash. Kill that nonsense. They can't score points. It don't matter. Also, you know the easiest way to beat Norton? When he kills one of your models, take one of his models off instead.
There you go. I forgot to try that.
Tactics, my friend.
Game 3 was against Mr. Cullen Burns, another fantastic opponent. We had a really good back and forth.
The overall winner.
Yeah, and the winner of best overall. it would have been a significantly easier game, but I was not able to kill the stupid support weapons before they got lodged into the corner of a building. And at that point, he had a 12-inch bubble of no go over in this spot. But literally, the game came down to at the very end, he had one D cannon left, and I had one knight left. It was a bloody game back and forth. Good story about Cullen. Turns out Eldar are really good, and he went first every single game and had a really good time with it.
Pew pew.
When you go first every time, it's a good
You
time.
should see the number of memes he sent me about go first, win games.
Yep.
And it does have a great thing on this. Imperial Knights versus Chaos Knights has to be like those old heavyweight bare knuckle boxing matches that go 40 rounds and both guys look like hamburger. Queensberry rules. Come on.
My fourth game was against Chris B. I'll just leave it at that. Fantastic opponent. His army was beautiful. His display board was awesome. He had all of his exalted sorcerers named after characters from the Ahriman books. So we were having a really good time. He was having a little bit of rough time on dice during that game. And then he decided that the game was over when 2 Helverins picked up Magnus through the -1 damage.
Anti-fly 2, fair and balanced.
Yeah, not because of my dice, but because literally he failed every single one but one save. So, like when that happens, that was not my whole entire army was in this concave, staged at exactly the right distance to shoot Magnus, and then the 2 Helverins did it, and the rest of the knights just looked back at the Crusaders like, "What are we supposed to do now?"
Should have yelled at him. Look, man, you really fucked up my plan by dying so quickly.
On Chris Broncato's army, if you looked at, did you look at the capes on all of his exalted sorcerers? Full freehand.
Yeah,
absolutely. Like you can hear the hobby guy on me. The freehand work on his army is phenomenal, and he won best overall appearance at the event.
There you go. Round 5, I played Brad.
That's terrible.
That was on stream, but unfortunately GW hacked the stream and took it down while we were playing. They literally briefed the streaming guys at the computer to make sure that didn't go live because they didn't want that violence to be present on the internet. Sarah McLaughlin's In the Arms of the Angel was played as Brad walked away from the table after losing the go first roll. Fun fact, after this, every time I play an Eldar player, we play 2 games. Every single time they go first, I lose the game in under a round. So me and Brad re-rack that game, and he literally kills 3 big knights on turn 1.
The better part was when you, Zoobs, and somebody else all walked by us, and then we went up to somebody else's table, and they're like, "You guys done already?" We're like, "We played twice."
Round 6 was against Mr. Brenton. That was the first round of day 3 because we had the most amazing TO that had this brilliant ideas that you get to do more drinking if you play 2 games a day, and it was great. So Brenton went hard into the tank with this. We also played 2 games. The first game I went first.
Sorry. He goes, Zooms goes, I got to go to 2 things on the wall.
Yeah.
First off, Zooms goes, the song might be longer than the game was. and then Kara just goes, "We saw Brad walk to the bar. Great exit."
No. Brad was not a fantastic opponent because Brad was not an opponent. He literally rolled to go first and then left the table.
I mean, I wasn't also an opponent. I was a speed bump. He was like, "Did we?" He goes, "Rolly, get out. I think we hit something." And then they backed up over me and then rolled over me again and drove away.
So I can say that, like, one of the things that I heard from feedback from players is they were like, "Yeah, Brian, we thought you doing 7 rounds instead of 8 was a little weird." And then he goes, "But on Saturday night, when we were all done playing at like 5 o'clock, we went to dinner, we came back, we sat around, played board games, and drank all night."
It was the best day by far.
Like,
it was so.
They were like, "This was a great 40K day."
Yeah, it was
fantastic.
fantastic.
Thing I wish that you would do next time is to do the brackets like GW does, so that way, like, you go to 1 undefeated rather than a situation, but everybody's still competing for the top in their bracket, so they still feel like they're competing. So you don't have people like, "Oh no, I can't do whatever. I'm going to drop now."
Sorry.
So the funny part about that is we had 2 drops the entire weekend.
Yeah.
Yep. So I mean, there were people that played all the way through 100%. And I heard lots and lots of good feedback. And granted, there was a little bit of negative about certain things, but that's to be expected. It's a game.
Also, the first tournament of 10th there.
Yeah.
Yep. You're gonna have higher uptick for that.
And I can definitely say that like someone shot me a message after the event who was one of my regular guys who comes to my events but was out of town on vacation, and he was like, dude, how did Eldar get like 5 of the top 6 placings? And I'm like, well, their army's really good. He goes, is there anything you could have done to adjust that? And I'm like, no. I was like, sorry, nothing I could do.
Except the Eldar points changes, but nobody else's.
Hurtful.
So that's one of the things that somebody asked me if I regretted not taking the point changes. And in my head, I was like, our event started on Friday. If that was a Saturday event.
Wasn't the event in Canada also a Friday event? Because
They started on Saturday.
They started on Saturday.
Okay.
Yeah, people
And
were
they
already
legitimately-
traveling.
Their due date for lists was Wednesday. And then they went, nah, just everybody, your list is due Friday, like before midnight.
There you go.
And
2
they-
more rounds. Sorry, go ahead.
I mean, it was. I don't regret not accepting the point changes. Looking back in hindsight, I don't think it changes a whole lot.
I think it does a lot because a lot of those D cannons go away. Cowabunga. Um,
This didn't
Game
change
6.
hardly at all.
Game 6 against Breton was also a good game. We played that one twice. First one, he tried to strategic reserve the fire prisms, and I killed literally every single Bright Lance on the table. Cowabunga. And then game 2, when we re-racked,
Hold, please, because we got a super chat from Peaches the Destroyer. It was 93 today working my landscaping job. He next had it 108. Tell me Brad got a random sneaky win for Space Wolves. Drank a horn of mead in my honor. My friend, we are testing tomorrow morning with all of my friends that are teachers, not doing anything right now in the summer. And I will rock out some Space Wolves.
I'm very excited to see you play Wolves.
Oh!
Now, here's the thing, though. Are you playing Space Wolves actually using Space Wolves?
You shut your face.
Sir.
I need one more score, goddammit, from fucking
Sir,
ITC.
Breton, or sorry, not Breton, Brian, I will remind you that Gladius Task Force can be taken with Space Wolves, and that is a actual Space Wolf list.
That's right.
I know it is, but
We talked
are
about
you
this.
running the Space Wolf
I need
detachment?
I need my
Question.
fourth faction score for ITC.
Brad,
Alright.
I think that's a really good reason why you should take that to ATC. Ooh.
No, because it's a Terra. It counts them as one person each team.
Yeah, it's gonna be bigger than an RTT though.
Nah, not really. I'll just stick it to RTT and not go through the ringer.
And then last round was against Mr. Chris Martins. That was a very good game. He null deployed his awesome Wraith Knight, and even though I got some chip damage into it, it was a bloody back and forth for the entire game. We were talking about it on round 1. He was like, do I need to come out with my Wraith Guard to be able to kill the Errant? And I was like, I don't know. Let's ask Brad and Brenton. What would you guys do? And they're like, absolutely come out with that. And if he hadn't done it, it wouldn't have killed the Errant, and the game would have just been an ugly hot mess. So thank you, Brad and Brenton, for helping.
Sometimes you got to crowdsource what you do. That's all
Yep.
I'm saying.
I just don't want to give bad advice. I don't know what the damage output of Wraith Guard are.
Dude,
Um,
I played him earlier. The funniest is that he shot a Warwalker, killed him. Poor Iliac Nightspear was hanging out by himself, and the Wraithguard met him in a dark alley, and it was not cool. And then they consolidated into a Hornet, and because of their special rule, well, first off, I have to attack, because the rules say I do. And then I attacked him, and they were like, how dare you attack me? We're going to use our once a turn shoot back with our pistols now. And the Hornet did not do well.
No.
Uh-oh.
So, super chat from Lyle.
As one of said teacher, I look forward to beating Brad. Brad beating me so bad that I don't want to play anymore. And then he has to convince me to go to ATC afterwards. Nope. I'm going to totally take a dive in every single one of our matches and convince you that some super random list is the best list you should play. Only
we had a-
100% flayed ones list. That's what you should throw down.
So we had 2 guys show up at the store today to play what was your casual pickup game, and the one guy starts taking out his tanks, pulling out all the Space Marine tanks, and then he pulls out 9 land speeders, And his opponent looks at him and goes, huh, that's funny, as he starts pulling out all his Imperial Guard indirect. And I'm just like, ah, this is going to be kind of entertaining to watch. It was quite a fun game.
Peaches is trying to challenge me to horn drinking. That sounds real weird. Drinking out of a drinking horn challenge? Whatever. Either way, it's going down. But, yeah, I'm down. I'm weirdly looking forward to ATC and not, because we're not going to get any other changes before then. And the knights are going to be peering over tiny little pieces of terrain. And it is what it is.
But you only have one knight per team, right?
Correct, but it's one of those things where you have people doing that and you think to yourself, well, that's probably an issue then. You're just straight up saying, yeah, Chaos Knights and Imperial Knights, they're the same, right? Not even remotely. Yeah, they're the same. You're like, what? No. So, it is what it is. Exactly.
So,
I knew as soon as I said that I get goats on that. I'll let you drink my horn.
So Raven asked if it's better to play Guard or Drukhari for ATC. With it being a teams event, it really depends on the matchups you get. A Guard can be very oppressive with some of that indirect fire, but Drukhari speed, as Scary showed fairly well in his list at TGX this weekend, have some really good play at scoring missions. So it's just a matter of choice of playstyle.
It's just, and that's one of the reasons that I think some of the bottom lists are the bottom lists, because they don't have speedy things to take the objectives. The thing is that over the course of the weekend, most of my games were determined by the fact that I scored a shit ton of secondaries and my opponents didn't. Primary was always very, very close, and then I pulled away because I went on a trash killing massacre. I would just kill everything that my opponent has that's fast, and all their nonsense units, and set things up. So like I just had a secondary advantage over the course of the weekend. Gilbert coming in with a $2 super chat. Just have every team pair up their knight players. Yeah, and then just flip a coin. Just move on with their life.
Actually, Knights versus Knights is a fairly even matchup, especially Imperial Knight versus Imperial Knight, because they don't have a ton of AP, so it's
unless you bring some Nelson Mojo. I do like Kyle. He goes, when this ATC talk happening? Tell us optimized builds, go over skewed list, tell Lai is the prettiest girl at the prom so we feel good. Oh, man.
Yeah, and I completely agree with that Guard and Votan, or Death Guard and Votan, are near the bottom because of speed.
Oh, you have
100%.
no options. Like,
yeah.
Anything that I pull as an Eldar player, I have a chance to play. Anything I pull as Drukhari, I can have a chance to play. A lot of armies just have speed. So, even Knights. Knights can just get places. You know what I mean?
Not having played against any Votan lists so far, or even like meta any of them, did the Kill Team Jump Pack unit make it into the index?
No. Got the whatever, the extractor unit or whatever the fuck it's called, exaction unit. The guys that came out in the box set with the henchmen, the Imperial henchmen deals, and then you just have a couple walkers. I mean, probably the best thing in Imperium to just get things is still, I'm not a huge fan of assassins, but I just like the what's his face, the Evisor. He's the cheapest assassin. He's got Scout 9 and he's got Lone Operative, so you can just go, I can score on turn 1. It's such a big deal. If you can't score secondaries on turn 1, your army is just going to suffer.
Yep, it's a huge deal. I want to say in the majority of my games, I was scoring at least 1 or 2 of my 2 secondaries on turn 1, which is a huge, but because otherwise you have to make up the 40 points over the course of 4 turns, which means you're having to average 10 points a turn, which is very difficult to do.
So I haven't seen it come through in chat yet, but I'm going to answer this question because I got it emailed to me by like 5 or 6 different people to ask if we saw anybody go for the Gambit. I saw 2 people go for it. I saw 1 person achieve it.
I had my one guy. I actually thought I was going to hate the Gambits, and I told you that. But when I started playing them, I liked the fact that if somebody got behind, they at least had a chance. You know what I mean? So I didn't hate the randomness as much, and I love the tactical. I think fixed objectives is trash to it. Once you play tactical, it just feels better. They do need to throw away, take your opponent's home objective, and the fact that you can get that as turn 1 and just go, all right, just got to table you and move on to your home objective. Cool, this should be pretty easy.
I do not think that gambits will be a problem for now. I think that gambits will be a problem when the games actually go longer and they become impactful. I think that the percentage of games that will go to turn 5 meaningfully is low, especially on upper tables. So it creates a really weird dynamic where gambits just aren't really effective. But I think that you can play around gambits and that will be like a strategy for a list that will come out. We'll have our next like infamously named list be something that focuses on 2 secondaries in a gambit and just doesn't play the mission the way that anybody else plays it at all.
I do think that there's, once we get some nerfs out, I think some of the middle. When I say middle, it's that weird tier of Necrons, Custodes, and GSC are going to dominate. If we hit the other stuff hard.
Yeah, I think GSC is proven from last weekend's performance in other areas and other events are a very strong army. I think it takes a really good pilot to pull it off. I don't think that's your random, net list, however you want to put it, that you can put together and just put down on the table. It takes a lot of reps and a lot of skill and a lot of thinking to do it, but it's a really solid army. And someone like Crawley's hands or Brad's hands, it's going to be a nasty little thing for a while.
Yes. Yes. Trying to catch up on the chat emoji, the chat mojo.
Kyle, yeah, you're completely correct. I haven't gone through yet, but since you're climbing up, you have to go through the other 3 door bosses first before you can challenge me. And Sean Rice is a pretty mean door boss, bro.
Yeah, he is.
You know what? I'm calling him that forever now.
Door boss.
Door boss.
It's a video game.
He's not even a level
Can we
boss.
call him Hodor?
What?
Can we call him Hodor?
True.
Hodor, hold the door.
Yeah.
Hold the door.
Yeah.
No, GSC's problem, like I have an unnaturally high amount of games in with GSC because I was considering them for competitive. The problem is that anybody who knows what your crap does can play around you relatively easy. GSC have 2 glaring weaknesses, but the first time somebody's playing into them, oh cowabunga! You think playing into Eldar is bad when you don't know what they do? GSC are on a whole another level of you have activated my trap card. Like you have to know how to play into GSC to be able to have a good.
But I think with the exception of Towering, and I think the Eldar points nerfs and the Fate die help bring them in line. I'm not saying they're in line. I still think they're above the other armies. But I think the state of the game is getting better. I don't think we're going to see anything else until September. Unless something crazy comes out of Tacoma and it's so busted that GW has to react. I don't think we're going to see anything until September after the Space Marine book and the Tyranid book drop.
Paul Lell brings up a good point of why you play the armies that you have trouble with every week. I completely agree. And you should do that in a way in which is conducive to the way that you learn.
100%.
So
I love doing that. That's such a huge deal, is that you learn how to play. You actually learn the weaknesses of the army by playing with the army. Then you find the things that they can't do very well. And then when you go back to playing against it, you can take advantage of those things. That's such a huge deal.
And you have to understand how you learn, right? Brad doesn't necessarily play as many games. He just watches us and smacks us all on the back of the hand to tell us how to get better, and that helps him get better, right? Whereas I play those armies. Your thing might just be getting reps into your buddy that plays it or reaching out to us and getting like help with that. There's lots of different options there, right? You just got to figure out the way that you learn the best.
And, I used to be, and this is to be fair, as Brad would say.
Could be pal.
People used to laugh when I said that I thought coaching, wasn't the greatest thing in the world. And then, look, I'm like, oh, wait, I get coaching all the time because I play with my friends. I talk with my buddies. I have friends all over the world who are top tier players. And I never realized that all of that stuff is coaching without coaching. And then to sit and watch a couple of coaches who I'm friends with do coaching sessions to basically educate me on what coaching is, it's really helping someone learn what their army does very, very specifically and what their strengths and weaknesses are, so they can play better into it, and then helping them learn against the stuff that they say they have problems with. And that's a big to do. And reps is, if you're the best player in your local meta and you're not getting reps against people who are as equal to you or better, having a coach is a good thing to help you along, to get you better if you want to continue on and go out traveling and do all this stuff. It's a good thing that's there and available for a lot of people.
I want to go into the. I just want to go to the wall real quick, because do you really expect Eldari win rate to drop below 65% with these nerfs?
No.
I do. I do.
No.
100% do.
You're full of crack.
No, there's so many people that were winning because of Wraith Knight towering, devastating wounds. I'm telling you right now that that's going to make a huge difference in the win rate.
You're literally shooting better Thunderhammers in a world where everybody has AP 1 and 2. Like, I cannot stress it enough.
They already are there right now. They're going to get worse. I'm telling you right now.
The other things that were their prey got worse too. Like, okay, I'm sorry, I might be wrong. GSC might just come out of nowhere and just freaking wreck everybody.
Matt O with the super chat. I want Steven to alpha predator stare Stu Black in the face when he's blasting some poor fluffy bunny list off the table at Tacoma. Make GW share the pain.
So I have an announcement to make, and I'll say it here just to make it a thing. I am not going to Tacoma. I was going to go to Tacoma, but Tacoma made last minute rules changes while I was in transit. I did not have the ability to make changes to my list, and I am not going to spend thousands of dollars to go to a tournament when I'm not able to compete on an equal footing. Had they not made adjustments to the rules in the time frame while I was already traveling for work and stuff, absolutely would have been there. But when you're talking about spending that much money, if they're going to make rules changes that affect the game basically within 7 days, I don't feel like that's reasonable, and I decided to drop at that point. That's not a negative on GW, because those things were clarifications that they felt that they needed to make, but it does severely impact the competitive landscape and creates a negative play experience for players at all levels, right? Also, they haven't formally announced these modifications publicly. They've only announced these in select emails to some people. So some people are there and don't even know.
Here's the thing, though. Do you think it was more that you have warrants in Washington?
Well, I mean, there was that cocaine plant that I had that got knocked down, but I mean, I had my Indigo Montoya alias ready. I was going to be absolutely fine. Nobody was going to know it's me. I was even growing out a mustache. Like, I got home this morning and I had to shave it off because the wife hated it, but it was great. Nobody was going to recognize me.
You should have played the Custodes. Golden bananas for the win.
If I had the ability to go home and change out armies in some way, I would have done.
Chuck wood. How much wood would the woodchuck?
I literally also tried to play Borrowhammer, Brad. I asked Brenton and others to reach out to their Freeville, and I could not find a person to. I was going to break my personal code.
Should have asked Brad. I would have been like, look, when you arrive, some dude that you've never met before in a trench coat is just going to hand you a box. That's your army.
But
because of Brad, in all honesty, Steven, I had a discussion with somebody who was like, should we just buy every army, paint up every unit, 3 of every unit, and have it ready to go, so when Brad goes, oh man, I came up with this crazy list, we can just go, here, shut up.
I mean, you've all seen my wall behind me. That my wall is very similar to that currently. I just have to be able to go home. It was my personal choice to try to do 2 events within a week, but I figured that there was something called tournament stability, and we weren't going to make further changes in addition to the changes that we did on Wednesday. Boy, was I wrong.
Look at the thing. Here's the thing. This is your first mistake. Why were you reading the tournament pack?
It's not even in the tournament pack. It's in random emails that Zach sent out. By the way, please don't reach out to Zach directly. Use the email address that's provided. Don't reach out to the TO directly unless you're friends on Facebook. That's such a not nice thing to do.
Paul coming in with the super chat. When you don't realize is the Orcs is going to win. As soon as they give freaking Mazrog and the other goddamn Squigosaur lords.
No, stop it. You are full of crap. You really want to do with a 4-up invuln and a 4-up feel no pain with -1 to wound to have
that dude's never making it across the board.
If they give him lone operative, Brad, I swear to God, I'm driving Toledo and punching him.
Put him in a unit. do anything.
No.
That guy's
No.
gonna get instantly killed.
Hold on. Wait. To quote Brad from night 2 when we were having our best drinking, no, God, please, no.
Hold on, I've got that one for you.
No. Like, I mean, he was screaming this, by the way. For everybody here, you missed it. Brad was screaming this at the top of his
You were
lungs.
taunting me about the night matchup, and then you started laughing because I got knights for the very next game.
No. This was because he switched to layout 3 from GW for day 3, and
Oh,
you saw
yes.
that, and you were playing a night. You were playing Sam was the night player that you
No,
were playing
Ben.
the next morning. Yeah,
Ben, who, by the way, we started the game off, and it was so funny. By the way, Ben's like knights are badass. He had the dude dabbing and the giant dude, and the better part was, I go, oh look, I'm playing a baby, and he's like, bro, I'm 22 or whatever. I'm not a baby. I go, I own models older than you. I go, I'm an old man. I'm just happy I get through this game alive. Uh-oh, Paul's coming back with another super chat. Flash Kids, Bad Rock, Battle Wagons, that's it. Pew pew, why isn't it a giant squig off? That's what I want you to be shooting out of. Pirates shooting out of dinosaurs? What?
Heck, yeah.
That's what I need.
bro. I may or may not have ordered some orc models because I really want to play Flash Kits. Pirates with giant cannons sounds so much fun.
KR, I bet that email was from Nigeria. He's also looking to move $1 million into the country. Oh, man.
No, and the worst part about that email that is floating around on the internet is it has the poor guy's work cell phone number on it.
Yep.
And I was like,
some people.
I was like, oh, why didn't people, like, before you share something like that, if you get something back from Games Workshop,
You black out the name
black
and
out the poor person's
information.
phone number.
Yes, and
No,
then you
they're
put
full
it,
contact.
and then you put in
Yes.
his personal information instead.
Yeah.
Harass him at home, not at work.
No, it was. I feel bad for Zach. Zach, by the way, is an amazing dude. If you,
Oh,
Mr.
God.
Bombastic.
The better
Zoomer
part.
for the win.
No, okay, I need to tell this one though, because that song's on, and out of nowhere, Zooms just looks up the lyrics and then monotones them out. So it just sounds
Yes,
super
that was
crazy.
the
He
best
just
part of
reads
the
the
weekend.
whole song. And Mr. Bombastic, just
No, there is a video somewhere of Brad going, Mr. Bombastic. I don't know any other words to the song.
we did sing a couple of that on Saturday. Again, tournament organizers 322 makes Saturday a magical place. It was so amazing. Also, I have to give props. By the way, Baby Crawley, Mr. Gilead, won Best Custodes. Give him props, but also literally played at least one game after the tournament and before the tournament every single day, asking for help, getting better. That was impressive, man. We literally played all day. I'm going to play another one if you guys will help me. Hell yeah, we will.
I don't even care about my performance. I was so proud of him because this is his first time. He went 5-2, and that's such a huge deal for him. And he had an experience that the judges had to help with a player that was not mad at him, but was mad at the game because of the state of 10th edition, and he handled it like a boss. Zuber came over and he was like, "Yeah, dude." The guy was super mad, and he was like, "Okay, cool, and I'm gonna start doing this now."
That is
But yeah.
true. Matt goes,
Super
people were
fun,
still playing 40K until like 1 a.m. anyways. But that was the funniest thing is we played 2 games, had a great time. We had drinks, people went out to dinner at a real time, not trying to go, hey, a table for 30, it's 11 seconds before you close. Like, what? You can't see this? That's crazy. But everyone came back, and I saw so many more games played than ever before in the evening for casual gaming because people weren't dirt tired, you know what I mean? So it was just nice.
When it wasn't even
Apparently-
that, like we had the open board gaming, and I got to give Tim, who provided like 200 board games for people to try out and play. We had the entire bar area loaded with games. There was 6 or 7 40K games, 3 AOS games going, like pretty much all night. And we sat around, supervising, we'll call it, and it was a grand time. I that was an idea I had because we went. I don't remember what event we were at, but we got done at like 8 o'clock at night. We were like, hey, let's go out to dinner. And there was like 2 restaurants open.
Yeah. Same thing.
And that's where the idea came from.
Loved it. Gilbert coming with the super chat. 30 infiltrators, 3 Phobos librarian, 30 sniper scouts, Shrike, 10 assault marines, 10 desolators, Vindicare, Caladius, the real best space marine list. Like 90% of the list has shrouding. So
just play that list as Space Wolves. I know Shrike's not Space Wolves, but just do it anyway, Brad. I wanted you to do that just to make Brian's skin crawl.
That is true. The Zoobs did drink a bottle of homemade vodka instead of 40K. We had some really, you guys do go hard in the fucking paint with your paint. There's so many, like, armies that would win best painted at large, huge events, like 300 people events, are like third place. It just comes to like hardcore.
That's the one thing I got to give. I stressed this for years, for a long time, and the community kind of embraced it. And I got to give them a ton of credit because they put in a metric ton of effort to where, like, one of the guy who won the best painted award, and I got to specify that I had 2 categories, one that included display board and conversions and everything else, and then one that was just the technical painting side of things. The guy who won best painted, if you like looked at the wood grain on like his poles, his handles and everything, it was full painted, like multicolor wood grain with like knots in it and the whole 9 yards. And you're just like, that's insanity.
Madness.
It was indeed, my friends. It was a good, I mean, man, you guys go balls deep. I mean, it was really, really good. You guys, all the time you have it. I was actually going to get that picture that Zoobs was talking about because it was hilarious.
Did I send it to you?
Death Guard Jim. Yes, I have it. Zoobs is trying to take a drink and we're literally over top of each other, and he's like crunched.
No, you guys are intensely staring into each other's eyes,
into each other's souls.
I had a player. My favorite part of the whole weekend. There was a player at the event, and they came up to me in the beginning and they were like, "This is my last event of 40K." Because I feel like the game is not in a good spot. I'm very unhappy with it. And at the very end of it, we were sitting down and we were talking, and he was like, "You know what? After commiserating with some other people, a lot of people recognize that 10th is bad, but I still want to try and I still want to play." And that made the whole entire weekend worth it. Sorry, I brought the whole mood down.
I mean, in all honesty, like there are parts in 10th edition that none of us are fond of, right? I mean, we can just admit that. But we move on and we try to stay positive because we love the lore, we love the models, we love the game. And I think it's more of we love our community. And the more you get together with the guys you play with and hang out and go to these big events and just have fun. And yes, I go in with no illusion that I am a mid-table player. My years of being super competitive personally are behind me. But I go and I have an immense amount of fun, and I hang out with players from every skill level. I talk with everybody, and it's just fun to hang and have a good time with your friends and just enjoy some like times together. I think everyone has to just realize that we go to these big events to have fun. Yes, there's a select group of people that go to, kick butt, take names, and, win everything. The vast majority of us are going there to have fun. And if we just remember that that's why we're there, we're going to have a good time.
Corey, I'm done with you. I'm just done. I'm just done with you.
Hold on. We're going to sweep the leg. On that note, does anybody want to promote anything besides you not going to Tacoma and making me sad?
Why does that make you sad, Brad?
Because I wanted you to shoot over tiny GW buildings.
I literally couldn't have done that anyway because they gutted Knights. Watch how well, Brad. How about this? I'll make a bet with you. Okay. Pub sub bet that there are more than 2.5 times the number of Eldar players than there are of Knight players.
Not a chance.
In the top 20.
Northwest is so big on Knights. They have some people
playing. Sounds like an easy bet, doesn't it?
I'm in.
Okay. So everybody, on Monday, we're going to be talking about the percentage. I'm willing to bet that there will be 2.5 times the number of Eldar players that there are Knight players.
We'll have to see. Now, we should just preface that with Imperial Knights, not just Chaos. Are we putting Chaos
Knights?
There
ain't no Chaos Knights in the freaking top 20. Are you kidding me?
See, it's part of the bet. I get both sets of knights just like KTC sees them. They're the same thing.
Sure,
you can't
I get
tell them
all
apart.
types of Eldar, including Harlequins. I won't be any of those either.
There
so I'm
isn't
not
Harlequins.
worried.
There's no such thing as Harlequins. Harlequins are a made-up story that you heard one time at band camp.
I know, and I really wanted it to go too, but you know what? There's always. I'm going to still be going to Tacoma, or not Tacoma, to what's the Florida one? It starts with a T, doesn't it? Tallahassee? Is it Tallahassee?
Tampa, isn't it?
Tampa. See, it started with a
Ain't
T. I was
nobody
right.
going to Tallahassee.
I'm going to Tampa. I'm still going to London GT. I'm going to the Invitational. I'm going to Nova. So there are lots of opportunities for us to hang out and for Corey to come tell me how bad I am and how I should feel bad.
You know what? I was there for this thing when I walked by this when it happened, when he was explaining what a Tom Collins was, and I was like, how do you not know this? But I'm ending the stream tonight on the Tallahassee airport story, which is I flew out of Tallahassee. The guy in front of me, well, there is one line because there's like two gates, and the dude didn't have ID and just went, "Come on, man!" And the guy was like, "All right," and just let him through security. I didn't know that was the best argument I've ever seen. Come on, man. And he's just like, whatever. Like, yeah, I don't really care. It's just
Tampa's in October. I got to find another September.
so.
So
Yes.
The promoting of things. Can I just promote something really quick for a buddy of mine?
The boys.
I'm not going to promote to Du Bois yet. I'm actually going to talk about a little event. It's a 40-man GT in Erie, Pennsylvania, called War on the Shores. If you live somewhere in the area, the first weekend in August, stop in, help support that little group. They're a growing community and they're trying to do something nice. Stop out and give them a shot. War on the Shore.
I'll promote Du Bois because Du Bois tickets are up, right? He hasn't changed his backdrop yet, but go there because all the Sharks are going to be at the Invitational. So go take Du Bois and get the
Not me.
first
I'm going
gold
to Du
ticket
Bois.
for next year. Good. I won't have to nick you to the hospital by the time we're done at the GW Invitational.
I will go
No,
to a different part of the country. I don't want to get my ass kicked again. So, on that note, everybody, Queens Wave.